Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this video lesson on concept maps and more specifically the causes and effects of the Age of Exploration. I am Miss Jennifer Blank and I will be your guide on this journey. So let me step away here for a minute and take a look at the concept map that we have behind us. You might have also heard it referred to as a word web. Sometimes people call it that. But in any case, it's a visual way of organizing information, which is really, really useful, especially if you're a visual learner. Even if you're not, taking information that's presented to you in an outline format, like many of my PowerPoints are presented, and transforming it into this helps you internalize the information. It helps you study it, helps you remember it. So it's a useful trick to do. So let's take a look at the concept map that I've got back here. So you see I've color-coded it. That's another really, really useful study trick, especially if you're a visual learner. You can, I have here the causes in red and the effects in blue, and it's separated one on each side. All right, so that's a better way to help you really see how these things fit together. So over here I have the Renaissance, printing press, modern nation state. They needed resources and the process of information, and I'll talk about these right now. So the Renaissance was an era in European society that started pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable. One of the number one things that the Renaissance folks did is they questioned the authority of the church. Now, prior to the Renaissance, there was a medieval period where the church dominated everything. Every single aspect of medieval life was dominated by the church. If it wasn't sanctioned by the church, it did not happen. All right, the church could literally stop kings from taking the throne. That's how powerful the church was. So by the time you hit the age of the Renaissance, where people are saying, well, I don't know if the church knows everything. I think that maybe human beings have capabilities, and human beings are good times. So let's start thinking about the physical world a little bit more and how we can make the physical world better and different things that we can do. And this was all part of the Renaissance. During this period also was the invention of the printing press. This made the spread of knowledge possible, so that more and more people had access to information. More and more people were getting curious and were coming up with different inventions that allowed people to leave Europe and explore and make it across the Atlantic to the Americas. Another really important thing that happened was the development of the modern nation state. Okay, this was the centralization of political authority under one king. So as opposed to the church controlling all of society, now individual kings were controlling everything within their own countries. This allowed kings to pool together resources, and it allowed not just centralization of politics, of political authority, but also centralization of economics and of resources so that they could be better put to use for exploration. A really good example of this is the nation of Spain, where Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand really used this to their advantage and were pretty primary in helping launch the Age of Exploration. Okay, now they needed resources. After the Renaissance, you have or during the Renaissance, you have a population boom. You have an increase in manufacturing, and the economies are looking good. But now we have a shortage of land. And now that we're manufacturing, we need more raw materials because we're kind of tapped out in Europe. So where do we go? We got to go somewhere else. So this spurred on the need for wanting to look for things outside of Europe. And this also helped contribute to the Age of Exploration. The Protestant Reformation was very important because with it comes some religious conflict. Okay, you have the Roman Catholics and then the Protestants who are duking it out to see who has the monopoly on religious truth. All right, who's right? Is it the Roman Catholics or is it the Protestants? And this battle follows them across the Atlantic into the New World with the colonial wars, but that's more of an effect. We'll get to that in a minute. Well, speaking of effects, let's talk about effects. So these were the causes. Now, let me just give you a disclaimer. These are not comprehensive. Okay, you can, I'm sure, find other video lessons, you can read books, and you can find all sorts of information that will give you several more effects and more causes. I'm just trying to kind of bottom line it for you here and not just give you some content, but also give you an example of what a concept map looks like to help your studying. Okay, so it's not comprehensive. There's more than this, but these are, in my view, the big picture ones that are really important. So let's look at the effects, all right? We have the Columbian Exchange, pardon me, folks, which was the biological and cultural exchange between the old and new worlds. Now, you see this concept map here, what you could do is have like a little offshoot. You know, you could have diseases, which was a big one. All right, you could have food, which was another one, animals, right? So you could have little bubbles off of each of these bubbles, right? So that's going to allow you to help organize yourself as well. So the Columbian Exchange, biological, cultural exchange between the old and new worlds. All right. We also have, sadly, the destruction of Native Americans. Now, most people, well, maybe not most, but many people erroneously or incorrectly believe that natives were wiped out mostly by war. This is not accurate. Most natives, at least in what we now consider to be the United States, were wiped out by disease. Okay, European diseases that they had no built-in immunities to wiped them out very, very quickly. That's not to say that European conquistadors did not go in there and take them out militarily. Of course they did. But disease was by far the biggest killer. In any case, it resulted in the absolute destruction of so many Native American tribes. They were completely eradicated, like just all traces of them removed. All right, so that was a very sad thing. We did discover new trade routes during the course of the Age of Exploration, which was very useful for Europeans. And that brings us to what will be the next era of study in my class, colonization. Okay, without the Age of Exploration, you don't find the New World, and if you don't find it, you can't colonize it. All right, so that's a concept map breakdown of the causes and effects of the Age of Exploration. I hope this was useful for you, and I will see you next time.